Today on Woodturning, we're going to talk to the birds.
Tim's American Beauty was made by Robust Tools, America's premier lathe manufacturer. Robust. Built to turn wood. Enjoyed for a lifetime.
Easy Wood Tools, best-in-class carbide wood turning tools. So why is it the smallest projects create the most mess? I was going to clean this up, but it got late last night. I went, oh, what the heck. So these are chirpers. You can call them bird chirpers or whatever you want, but this is actually an ancient toy. And I decided to try to replicate it. I've been wanting to do this for quite a while. It's really simple construction. It is basically a tube of wood with a cap on either end. But the important thing is this piece of wood right here is angled back almost like a razor blade. So when you spin it, the wind gets in there. It's just like a whistle. Anyway, this is pretty cool. We're going to be using Purple Heart and oak today. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors, Robust Lathes and Easy Wood Tools, because without their support, we wouldn't be here. And by the way, if you're looking for a lathe, I'm a Robust dealer, so give me a yell. What we've got going on here today, we're going to make just the short chirper because it's the same process to make either one. And the way you start this off with is you're going to drill a hole in these blanks of Purple Heart that I'm using. Put these over here. Now if you want to make the long one, this is 4.5 inches by 1 inch in width. And I'm going to drill a 3/4 inch hole in this one if you make that one. Over here, I'm actually drilling a 35 millimeter hole, and I'm not good with math, so I'm not sure what that means. But this is 2 inches wide and 2 inches long, and so now we're going to drill a hole in there. When you're drilling a hole, let me find my Googles here, you got to go slow. So I'll turn this on, and I'm just going to feed my Forstner bit in. This might look like overkill with the extension. It is. I can't find my short extension to make this work. Also, I've got this mounted in my Easy Wood chuck with their extended jaws. Oh, if I lock that part down, it'd go a lot easier. And what this does is, as I go through the bottom of this, I'm not going to hit the chuck because, well, let me just show it to you real quick. Brian, you can show this a little bit easier. You can see I have a big gap right here. So as I drill this through, I'm not going to hit the chuck. I'm just going to come into here. That's why I like using these jaws. They're pretty cool. Anyway, back to drilling. Gonna make a little bit of noise. Gonna turn that down a little bit. We're about 650 RPM now. And I'm using a Forstner bit because it clears the chips really well. And one thing you're going to wind up with that you might want to do, you're going to see some smoke and heat coming off of this, right? So you can back it off, and just to keep things from going really crazy, you take a little bit of beeswax and just simply touch it to the bit, because the bit's going to be hot, and you see it melts it, and then when you start going in, it's a smoother cut. But anyway, we'll drill this all the way through, and then move on to the next step. So, we got our hole drilled. Now, how do we hold this sucker? Well, I had to make a jig. This piece of wood right here, I have a diameter right here. Let's see, that this is going to fit right there. It pushes right tight on there, right? Okay, let me move my camera here just a minute. Yeah! Show a little to you a little bit better. Okay, so this fits on tight and snug. You'll also see I have a gap right here. Well, that's to give me a little bit of room for when I'm cutting the wood, but at the same time, this gap right here, nice fit, is actually the thickness of the wall I want to make. So I bring my cut down to this level. Now, how do I hold this end? Well, the nice thing is this is my Easy Wood chuck on this side, and over here I have my Robust Live Center, and it comes with a cone. And the cone is awesome because as I screw this in, let me bring this back over here, like so, you can see the cone just symmetrically goes into that hole and holds it. So that's going to hold it while we're turning. One important thing is don't put a lot of pressure on this, because when we get down to the thickness that we want, it's going to be really thin, and you don't want to shatter it with all that pressure. So we'll bring our tool rest up here. I've got my Easy Wood square tip, and I'll rotate this by hand, nothing hitting. And so we're just going to start gently removing some of the wood. Take your time on this. I'm going to bring the speed up though, because we need some speed. So the next step is, how do we cut that slot in there? Do not go to the bandsaw and do that. You'll wind up looking like this, okay? So I have this little power carver here with a little bitty tiny cutter on it. I mean, that is tiny, right? So I want to cut a slot in this, and the first thing I need to do is to make a straight line. So I'm just going to take my Sweet 7 ruler here. I've got a center slot. It balances on there, and I can just do that, and now I have a perfectly straight line. This is not going to be a perfectly straight line when I'm done cutting, but we'll fix that. So we turn this thing on, and this thing cranks up really fast. I love it. It's got a lot of speed to it. I'm at the highest RPMs it does. I think it's like 35,000, something like that. I'll just start eating away at this. Almost straight. So just take a little bit at a time. What's going to happen is once you cut through the wood, it's going to spring together like a clamp. So you have to be ready for that when that happens. And then you have to widen the hole a little bit, or the slot a little bit more. Oh, I just love the smell of wood in this shop. There's something bad about that, but something good about it too. Smoking bad, kids. Don't do it. Whew. Okay, we're all the way through. See how that moves like that? Now we have to work on widening out that slot. So the best way I found to widen this slot is with 80 grit sandpaper, and I have a little foam backing on it, just to give me a little thickness. In the beginning, you might not be able to get this sandpaper to go in there with the foam backing, and you might just have to use the sandpaper alone. But the idea is you get it in there and you simply just work it back and forth. And we're going to make this about 3/16 of an inch wide is what we're after. It's going to take a while. Okay, so we're out of the clamp now, and what I'm working on is making the lip, the little razor edge right here. It's got to cut back at about this angle. You see where I've got this? I've got my Sweet 7 ruler as my backing now because it's nice and it's metal, it's hard. Basically, I want to make this go back a little bit like a razor blade. If you don't get a really nice receding angle on this, you won't get your whistle. It won't work. So you got to take your time on this and make sure that edge is sharp. If it's rounded off at all, it won't work. So I have my piece of oak in here, and take a check here. What I did is I turned the tenon, and you'll see here that this fits over. Now that keeps me spread, and I have the right distance I need right there. So what I want to do now is just take this little surface right here down flush with that, because we're just making a cap. It's a real simple cap. So we'll eye this in a little bit. I'd say I'm pretty close right there. Stop this. Whoa, big boy. Yeah, see, we're flush right there. Now, it's very simple from this point on. Make it another cut to the side here. There we go. And now we make a plunge cut. Make a release cut. And so I'll just sand that up, part it off, and make another one. All right, I went through. So the hole we drilled, I'm putting a waxed string through there. And I want to make a knot so it won't come back out. Wax string is kind of important. This is stuff that they use for actually leather work, I guess. But the wax string keeps the string from unraveling as you spin it frantically when you're trying to make your chirp. So cool. So there we have it like so, right? So let's go to some assemblage. I've got both end caps here like this. So the next step is I want to put some super glue on here to hold this together. And I'm going to run a bead along the inside here. Let's see if I can do this without being too sloppy. This is medium cyanoacrylate, super glue. And one trick I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the cap, turn it upside down, take some accelerator and go like that. So when I stick this in here, it's going to glue up really quickly. So make sure you get it in place and hold it. I'm going to do the other end, and then we're going to put a finish on. So I'm going to put coat of hand rub polyurethane on here, and watch this Purple Heart pop. Isn't that cool stuff? My oak looks great. I like the contrast in the woods. And so I'm going to put one coat on there. You'd always put 2 coats on, 3 coats, whatever you want. If you want to be real fancy, you could finish the inside, which probably would have been a smart thing to do, but I didn't do that. But we're going to let that soak in. I think that's really pretty cool. And actually, it's pretty pretty. Let's give this a whirl. That is pretty cool. So that is how you make a chirper. I hope you enjoyed it. Till the next time on Woodturning, keep whirling and chirping.
Tim's American Beauty was made by Robust Tools, America's premier lathe manufacturer. Robust. Built to turn wood. Enjoyed for a lifetime.
Easy Wood Tools, best in class carbide wood turning tools.